a quiet man, a false accusation, and a camera that didn't blink. In today's gripping story, we follow Jamal Turner, a hard-working black man who found himself in the crosshairs of injustice when a routine evening turned into a life-altering nightmare. Accused of a crime he didn't commit, the odds were stacked against him until a single piece of footage changed everything. This story is more than a moment caught on tape. It's about truth, pain, resilience, and the power of accountability. Watch until the end to see how the system nearly broke him, and how one unexpected hero gave him back his freedom. Based on true events and real emotions, this is a story you won't forget. Jamal Turner didn't think much of the day when it started. He had just finished his shift as a night custodian at the downtown district courthouse. The floors gleamed under his care, and no one could ever say Jamal didn't do his job with pride, even if they rarely look him in the eye. He was invisible to most people, and sometimes that was a blessing. Other times it was a curse. That night, he walked to the corner store like he always did. It was just after 11 p.m. He was tired, but not too tired to grab a carton of milk for his mama, who still lived with him. She'd been having trouble sleeping, and warm milk helped. He waved to Mr. Patel behind the counter. The little bell on the door chimed. It was quiet, peaceful, familiar, until it wasn't. 3 minutes later, the store's glass door shattered as a man in a ski mask burst in, holding a gun. Jamal's heart dropped. "On the floor!" the man shouted. Jamal did what he was told. So did Mr. Patel. The robber was jittery, yelling demands, waving the gun too close to Jamal's face. In a panic, the man grabbed the cash drawer, knocked over a display of chips, and fled. Police sirens wailed nearby. And then everything turned. When the officers arrived, Jamal stood with his hands up, calm, respectful, cooperative. But to them, he was a suspect, not the witness, not the victim, just a black man near a crime scene. And that was all they needed. "Don't move." "Sir, I said don't move." The first officer, Officer Darrell Klein, shoved Jamal against the wall. Jamal didn't resist. He didn't dare. He could feel the cold steel of the handcuffs on his wrists before he even had a chance to explain. Mr. Patel tried to speak. No, he's not the guy. He was here the whole time. He was buying milk." But the officers weren't listening. Or maybe they just didn't care. Another officer, Officer Teresa Malloy, had a body cam blinking red on her chest. Jamal's face was tilted just enough to see it out of the corner of his eye. It gave him a flicker of hope. "Check the camera," he said softly, eyes pleading. But they didn't. Not then. At the station, Jamal was booked, fingerprinted, and placed in a cold, gray cell. No one read him his rights properly. He was denied a phone call for hours. His mind raced. His mama wouldn't know where he was. Mr. Patel would surely speak up, but would they listen to him? A public defender eventually came, a tired woman named Ms. Calderon who had seen too many cases like this one. "They say you match the description," she said, scanning her folder. "I was buying milk," Jamal said, barely above a whisper. "There's video." The clerk, he saw everything. "I'll do what I can," she said, but her eyes betrayed a tired doubt. Jamal had no prior arrests. He had worked at the courthouse for 6 years. He was known, reliable. None of that mattered when the prosecutor pushed for pretrial detention. The judge agreed. And just like that, Jamal's world shrank to the 4 walls of a jail cell. What Jamal didn't know, what no one told him, was that Officer Malloy had reviewed the body cam footage the very next day. And she saw the truth. She saw Jamal's calm, his compliance, his fear. She saw Mr. Patel shouting from behind the counter, telling the cops they had the wrong man. She saw a man who was clearly not running, not hiding, not guilty. But Officer Klein had already filed a report. And in that report, Jamal had acted suspiciously, resisted commands, and fit the description exactly. It wasn't true. But in the system, once the gears turn, they don't stop easily. Still, Malloy couldn't sleep. She watched the footage again. And again. Finally, she made a decision. At Jamal's preliminary hearing 2 weeks later, his mother sat in the front row with trembling hands. Ms. Calderon stood beside him, filing motions, objecting, fighting. The prosecutor was adamant. We have an eyewitness description. The arresting officer observed him fleeing the scene. Jamal closed his eyes. And then Officer Malloy stepped into the courtroom. "Your Honor," she said, "I have body cam footage that contradicts the arresting officer's report." The judge raised an eyebrow. "You may approach." The courtroom went silent as the video played on the screen. Everyone saw it. The robber running past. Jamal standing still. "Hands up. Calm." Mr. Patel's voice ringing out, clear as day. He didn't do it. He was just buying milk. He's not the guy. The video ended. The silence was deafening. The judge looked over his glasses. Case dismissed. Jamal's knees buckled. Ms. Calderon caught him. And in that single moment, with the click of a gavel, he was free. But freedom didn't undo the damage. Jamal had lost his job, his reputation, his peace. He stood outside the courthouse, breathing air that felt different, both lighter and heavier. Reporters hounded him. Cameras flashed. He only said one thing. "The camera saved me, but I shouldn't have needed saving in the first place." His story went viral. Civil rights lawyers took up his case. The city paid a settlement, one that couldn't return the nights he spent locked away. Officer Klein was suspended. Malloy was commended. And Jamal? He started speaking. At schools, community centers, police academies. He used his story to shine a light on all the others who never got their body cam moment. In the end, Jamal's story wasn't about a miracle. It was about accountability, about the fragile, terrifying reality that sometimes only a camera stands between a lie and a life destroyed, but also about courage, about the power of telling the truth, even when the system begs you to look away. Because justice isn't what happens in the courtroom, it's what we demand outside of it. If stories like this move you, don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell, and help amplify voices that matter. New, powerful, real-life stories every week. Raw, unfiltered, and unforgettable.